Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Gazen. Leslie has the night off. At the top tonight, a software glitch that caused some confusion about tomorrow's planned vaccination clinic at the American Bank Center. Word from the city tonight is that the software problem allowed the system to exceed the 250-person limit that was set for the online registration. Another 250 were allowed to register over the phone, and that system functioned just fine. But this is our top story at 10. We're told the problem has now been fixed. People who were able to pre-register online will be allowed to check in by 6:30 tomorrow morning. Those who should not have been allowed to register will receive a text message from the city's reverse alert system explaining what happened, letting them know they will not be eligible to attend tomorrow's clinic. Again, this is only for those who registered for the vaccine clinic online. Mayor Paulette GUAJARDO saying this morning that the number of vaccination clinics hosted by the city will all be based on supply.
If we do not receive a shipment 1 week, we will not be opening the hotline or the phone line for registration. So for example, if the city receives 300 vaccinations for the program, we will announce when the hotline is opening and only accept 300 registrations. So after the 300 registrations are filled, callers will hear an automated message.
Now for those 500 people who were able to register, you should already have received a QR code and a password. And this is where you'll need to go. You head to the American Bank Center and use I-37 to get there. You exit on East Port Avenue. From there, police will check that you have a valid QR code and password before letting you in. You can find these instructions actually in a more complete state on our website, KIITV.com. The Corpus Christi Fire Department today announcing the arrival of more than 600 vaccine doses. 600, actually, to be exact. These will be used for our city's Save Our Seniors vaccination program. So far, the fire department has vaccinated more than 200 seniors through the program. Fire Chief Robert Rocha saying his goal is to vaccinate some 900 people by this Saturday. And big news out of the Kingsville ISD today, where employees are now on track to receive their first doses of the vaccine. The superintendent there, Dr. Sissy Perez-Reynolds, says the vaccinations are set for February 9th. They plan to give shots to more than 350 employees, and they won't even have to leave their campuses to get those shots.
He has agreed to allow our nurses to give the vaccines on the campuses because since it is a school day, it was getting a little bit more difficult to try to allow everybody to leave to JK Northway at the same time. We didn't want it to lose any instructional time, and so he completely understood that.
Currently, the Kingsville ISD parents can still decide whether their child attends school in the classroom or online. Here's a look at the daily coronavirus numbers for Nueces County. The county reporting 291 new cases today. That's a significant rise from what it has been. That brings the total number to 35,398 since March of last year. There was one fatality today, said to be a man in his 60s. Currently, there are 153 people in the hospital, and 57 of those patients are in intensive care.